So we're here for another Soliloquies Sessions interview. This time we sitting down with Mike Gray, creator, author, soon to be father, black man, you know, that's just out here, you know, contributing in a lot of phenomenal ways to the world, whether it's, you know, educating people on how to be emotionally intelligent, you know, whether it's being fly, you know, and just presenting yourself in the way a man should be. You know, it's great to connect with you. You know what I'm saying? We go back to the field.
Likewise, brother.
And now here we are.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you and honor you and your presence, brother.
Happy to be here, man. Peace to everything, man.
For sure. So you went to Winston-Salem State. Spent some time there. Let's talk about your experience at HBCU. What was it like to get that type of presence?
Okay, so Winston-Salem State was it was a very eye-opening experience because being from Jacksonville. Okay, so the way my family is set up, my mom and everybody on that side of the family is from Jacksonville, but my dad and everybody's from Brooklyn, New York. All my dad's family moved from Brooklyn to New York to Greensboro, North Carolina when I was like 8. So I had ties close to Detroit because Greensboro's right next to Winston. I had ties pretty close to it, but what Winston-Salem State was a culture shock for me because in Jacksonville, going to Northside High School, you grow up in a military town where it's really the melting pot. So my family is black, and I have a great awareness of, you know, the back roads and everything that Jacksonville has, but at that same token, my school experience was always on a military basis, or it was at a military school, so I grew up around everybody. My group of friends was a huge melting pot, where I had black, white, Hispanic, everybody was my friend. But going to Winston-Salem State was a culture shock because I had never been around that many of my peers all at one time in such a defining moment, I would say. Because Winston, or college for a lot of people, is that chance to really find yourself as a person. You know, you can have certain boundaries and guidelines set up on yourself back home, but once you get on that campus and mom and dad ain't 20, 30 minutes away, you can do whatever. And of course, some people were doing that beforehand, but now we was just kind of like doing it. It was like described like a big sleepover for the teenagers,
right,
and
with
growing into adults with no supervision. So dealing with our culture on a more, a less diluted level was kind of just seeing melanin come to life for real for the first time. Like, I'm going to class in sweats and everything every day, and I'm playing football too for my first 2 years, so I'm in sweats. People come to class fly, girls are smelling like, you know, the whole bucket of coconut oil and all the good stuff, so it's just like, it shot me for a loop, man, but it strengthened the notion that, you know, I wasn't the only, you know, black child out here really trying to get it. And it exposed me to that, you know what I'm saying? It exposed me to a lot, but Winston was a beautiful thing. It's where I found a lot of my manhood at, a good amount of it at.
How did, so I had a similar experience, you know, coming from Jacksonville, and, you know, going to Winston-Salem State, and it was, for one, a lot of my family went to A&T, so I was at the Aggie Eagle Classics, I was at homecoming, so I did get to experience it like that. Nonetheless, it's different experiencing it every day. You know, that's where you sleeping and you waking up, you know what I mean? And it was really dope, but also there were so many different parts of blackness that I couldn't learn in a Black History Month. You know, that you can only have, you know, during the experience. So to, you know what I'm saying, your manhood, what are the contributions to your manhood that you got from Winston-Salem State?
Well, honestly, okay, so I did two spurts at Winston between 07, 09, and you have 2014, and I graduated 2017. That 07, 09 phase was young, Michael, fresh from the confounds of his home, that baseline set of knowledge and beliefs that I had. It was very, very close to my chest, and it was really just, and on top of that, my first 2 years at Winston, I had a lady. So within that time, the first time it tested my manhood, one, by, being able to, walk onto the football team and make sure that I'm participating and not feeling less than. To be around a group of women in my peer group, but still remain in a faithful situation with my then lady at the time, was a test of my discipline, so to speak. And then on top of that, getting that first, I think I had, forget my professor's name, but he was my English professor, and he was from Africa. Forget what part, but he spoke to me in a way that showed me a different kind of pride, so to speak. Different kind of pride that, cause my dad, military man, always on the go. My mom, home daycare provider, wasn't really, indoctrinated in some of the deeper parts of our struggle to learn to regurgitate it to me in that way. So just the way he's talking with, like as a black man, you got something to grab, you got something to find. And I didn't know that at the time because I was so busy with football, my relationship, and just that initial culture shock. But leaving Winston, going to the military, getting medically discharged, going to the fire department, being married for 2 years, then getting divorced in 2012, and being in that space where it's like, well, I don't have nobody else to take care of. I've been out in the real world for a while by myself. I'm doing okay. What do I truly want to do in my life? My brother Keith taught me into going back to Winston. So that second time was me, I guess, taking my manhood to the next level as far as living a prior life, seeing the things I didn't want, and then being intentional about getting the things that I did want going back. So initially, as a man who's been in a relationship for 6 years, was intent on remaining single, it was, I want to go back to school, I want to get my degree, I want to pledge, I want to really I want to be an eligible bachelor, bro. I want to live and not have to, be so cognizant of somebody else's feelings. You know what I'm saying, if I could be honest. And I got every single opportunity I wanted. I got back to school, I had great grades, I pledged, I was social, but eventually all the things that came with what I wanted to do as far as exploring fraternity life, exploring women, those things were bringing me to a place where I wasn't happy with what I was seeing, with the results that I was seeing from my chosen avenues of exploration, so to speak. I noticed, once you conquer some fears, and you earn, you build your own degrees of separation by whether it's joining an organization or completing a specific task, but the power and the recognition and the responsibility that comes with it was being painted, because I was in a space where I was kicking it with any girl I wanted, doing whatever I wanted, but the thing was, at the end of all of those interactions, there were tears on the end of the woman, and there was negligence on my part. I had to acknowledge that. I also had to acknowledge that as a result of me basking in this fraternity life and road tripping every other weekend and eating chicken and drinking beer, I started gaining weight. I got up to like 255 pounds. And I remember sitting in the back of a criminology class with all these things on my mind, like my relationships with women, my amount of weight gain, the fact that I just didn't seem to be setting myself up. I couldn't be confident in where I was going moving forward. And I knew that the real world didn't give a damn about my affiliations in college. It's about, what are you doing? What kind of value are you bringing into my space? And I didn't have the answer to those questions. But as a result of my classes, I took black psych classes, I took intro to, not interdisciplinary studies, but modern issues as far as, dealing with the plight of man and woman. this day and age, dealing with the issues, seeing it firsthand, I started to fade away from the activities that came with the fraternity life, or the extracurricular that came with the fraternity life, and my ability to be everywhere. And I sat down and I was like, yo, bro, on the other side of these university walls, that's clearly telling you, enter to learn, depart to serve. If you're not in a space where you've learned and are prepared to serve, bro, like, it's not gonna be much different. I knew that. So it was the classes that were speaking on those issues that helped me to see myself, that helped me to see my conditioning, that helped me to see my programming, and to be more inquisitive about why I truly thought the way I thought. And so with all the fun coming to an end, Winston gave me the okay to explore outside of my comfort zone. I'll say that. Because coming from where I'm from, it's the Bible, and you don't look outside of whatever it is the Bible is telling you, and we're not gonna, really argue on if a man walked on water or not. We're not gonna talk about that. Just believe. Right. And I'm a firm believer that you can mature in age, but if you don't mature in consciousness and if you don't have spiritual maturity, then some things just ain't gonna add up. You're gonna have some really big voids in your life. And Winston, I can say, gave me the opportunity and the permission, I say, because I was raised under a household where, I was taught to learn respect for authority through fear more so than inspiration. And that fear kept me from being inquisitive. It kept me from asking myself the questions that my soul was begging me to ask. But Winston, and being around the people and the teachers and the courses in Winston gave me that okay, where it's like, bro, there's a whole nother realm of people that look like you, that it's okay for them, that they take pride in being knowledgeable. They take pride in studying what's behind the walls of this seemingly forbidden space that I was told not to look behind. So that was, I know it was a lot, but in a nutshell, Winston kind of presented me with all of that, and I'm forever thankful for all that exploration.
Yeah, it wasn't a lot at all, because when you get to thinking of contributions to your entire manhood, there's a lot
of spaces,
to break down and fill in there, and I'm sure there's still other things, but that's real, and I think there's a lot of takeaways, young men that are experiencing, life in college now, to even think about, while they're doing other things, to think about, some of the other things, be mindful of what their physical experience is, their spiritual and mental experiences. Like you said, you would think about your weight gain, but also the experiences, where were they taking you? What was happening after this was over? So in being conscious of those, and I think that type of accountability, leads to, progress.
Facts.
As an artist, what space are you in as a creator?
Right now I'm in a very, very beautiful space of creating. As far as the book goes, I didn't realize it until I really sat down and jumped into my writing process, which started back in 2016, 17, when I was starting to feel that indifference within me. I started taking notes. My brother Keith, he got me a journal. I was like, man, here, man, you're gonna use this. And so back at that time frame, I started to take notes. I wasn't a huge reader. I wasn't an avid reader. Not until around, I think I saw the documentary Hidden Colors, the series Hidden Colors, at maybe mid 2017, and that was also another an explosion of permission to take my awakening and my consciousness as far as I wanted to, as far as I could take it. And not until I developed more direction of what I wanted to write about did I think about being, when I was 5 and 6 and 7, I used to have, you ever seen the movie Harriet the Spy? It's like a Nickelodeon movie, bro. It's about this little white girl. She a spy. She walking around the neighborhood, writing down what she see. I did that when I first saw that movie as a little kid, and I remember it evolved into me just writing little stories about different stuff I was interested in, football players, superheroes, and I would draw pictures. I would color them joints. At 6 and 7 years old, going on road trips with my parents, and I not until I sat back down and, you know, let some of my boyish ways and my laziness go and really start saying, I'm gonna create this, bro. Like, I'm not gonna be ashamed or afraid to say I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it, and however long it takes, or however it takes me to piece it together, that's what I'm gonna do. And being back in that creative space where it's like, wow, bro, like I never noticed how exonerating it is to be able to articulate your experience and see the bright spots. And because it's all been an uphill climb, that's why I call it bright spots. But right now, with me being on, because I'm working on the last chapter right now, and there was a part in chapter 14, which I have 15 total chapters, but in chapter 14, it was that space where you have something to say, but you're not saying it as efficiently and as poetically as you would like. And you want the point of your art to truly be understood, for people to not be so nitpicky about what it is you're presenting, but to give and deliver the best piece of content I could to make people understand some of the lessons in life that we run from, you know? And I got through it earlier this week. No, excuse me, I got through it in the middle of last week. And the beautiful thing about it is that being so close to the end, understanding that there's so much more on the other side of the completion of my beautiful asset, wanting to be in that light and walk in that light and finally just, you know, network and build in that particular fashion. But it wasn't until, you know, this particular part was to the standard that my soul felt it needed to be. And I called multiple people, read it to different people, had conversations about the subject matter with different people. Me and my lady stayed up to like 12 midnight sometimes just talking about how I could make this right. And still no real progress. And you know, it was so infuriating coming to sit down and you're not sure if this hour and a half, 2 hours of mental dedication is gonna get you through it to the next phase or not. But you just know you're not gonna give up. And I was laying down in the bed sometime in the middle of last week, and that shit woke me up out my sleep, bro. The story that I needed to tell came and woke me up out my sleep. I was so excited. I just wanted to wake my lady up and be like, yo, I found it, it's here. But the lesson in that is learning to be still and learning to, you know, walk in your word and not let some of the energy that you might need to reserve to go into that craft, not to, I don't say waste it, but not to be wasteful of it, to be a good steward of your energy, so to speak, and let that inspire me. So I didn't say anything to her. I didn't wake her up. You know what I'm saying? I let the next day go by until and still dealing with the nerves of sitting down, being like, is the story gonna come out right? But then sitting down and seeing it and watching it come together, and I call that piece of my book my dismount or my jumping off point. You ever seen a gymnast on the balance beam when she got to get her heels just right, her feet just right? That's what this part of the book was for me. So now it was like, yeah, I told all those previous 13 chapters worth of content. It ended up being like over 260 something pages typed, but I'm only going to use probably about 170 of it, 175 maybe. But I had to get all of that out. And just to be in this space now where I've gotten past that moment, it just continued to give me that spark, like, bro, you can do anything, bro. So my mind is more clear, it's more open now. I'm able to pull inspiration from other, you know, from the things I need to on a more consistent basis. You know, even, you know, with the references about what I've been writing about earlier and seeing some of these references in this very wonderful and powerful establishment here, you know, it brings creativity. It breathes new life into my sense of creativity. So, you know, that's where I'm at with it now, and I'm excited to, you know, very, very excited to, you know, let the world see. But one of the main things, just thinking like, yo, my son gonna come into the world with something from his dad, from his pops, that, you know, God forbid anything would ever happen, if he was to pick up that book and be like, yo, I wonder what my dad was, you know what I'm saying? there's some little boy, there's some little girl who need to see or hear that story. And just knowing that I'm a step closer is just a beautiful feeling, being present in the moment, you know? So it's a beautiful space, man.
Yeah, nah, it is. You kind of answered something I wanted to ask you. I was going to ask you if you felt like you had a responsibility as an artist. But I mean, I hear the responsibility, you know what I mean, as you discuss it, and even who the responsibility is to, you know what I mean, whether it's to your own son or to, you know what I mean, other young men, you know, that pick up your book. What are some of the inspirations, you know, what are some of the musical or literature inspirations that have inspired you as an artist specifically?
Right. Well, the first book that I read that I know for a fact changed my life was New Visions for African Men by Dr. Naeem Akbar. That was a book that it showed me myself, bro. It showed me every bit of myself, and it showed me the places throughout my life that I was looking to escape. And you know, it showed me that I wasn't alone, one, but two, it gave me order. It gave me order. It gave me a particular. It gave me a guiding light to kind of submit to, because my pops passed back in 2017. 2017 was a wild year, but he passed in December of 2017, and as a young man walking heavily into this new realm, I won't call it new, but just my own personal new phase of manhood, I realized how much I would have wanted to ask my dad, how much I would have wanted to kind of, you know, speak to him about all the questions that I wanted to ask and I couldn't, well, I can't in the physical at this point in time. So that book, you know, it was like I said, gave me the structure I needed, and inspired me to want to give my artwork and my writing a chance to do for another young person what that book did for me. Another book that helped me grow patience and realize the beauty of my process was The Smell of Rain on Dust. There's a book called The Smell of Rain on Dust that talks about dealing with grief, dealing with death, dealing with loss, and how to paint a beautiful picture out of it by diving into different cultures and showing their reverence for the process of life. So I can say that brought me to some very serene places throughout this creative process. Other content that was created, I know just lately, I've been watching a lot of Kobe Bryant docs and Michael Jordan docs, only because, I don't say only, but mainly because there's a phase while you're in the midst of going through all this stuff where, you know, your ego might creep in and, you know, try to, you know, put you in this ungrateful place or this frustrated place where you feel like you should be somewhere that you ain't, or you ask yourself like, why, not why me more so, but, you know, why do I have to go through all this to you know, be seen in a particular light? And I love what Mike and Kobe do in the midst of their talk about their obsession with their craft and the creation, is that leadership comes with a price. Winning comes with a price. And once you're conscious of the work that's needed, then the only enemy, the only person you can get mad at is the standard. You have to work to build yourself to that. And that's been one of those things that has kind of just made me love and appreciate this space that I'm in, this ability for me to fall in love with detail, to be obsessive about something that I love. You know what I'm saying? It's helped me rearrange my perception. So, you know, between New Visions for African Men, Smell of Rain on Dust, and, you know, just actual visual content that's, you know, speaks to the poetry of what it is to excel and to find determination is definitely what I can say is, keeping me energized and helping to help me see the bigger picture in this space.
Yeah, A lot of times, well, I like what you said about going back and listening to Kobe and Jordan. I do that, or some Jay, you know what I mean? And more so like his interviews.
Right.
I listen to a lot of different interviews, podcasts and stuff like that, because I already create music, so sometimes I try to find things that's outside of whatever particular space. Even though I interview people, I like to hear, what I'm saying, what other people, especially great people, have to say, because we are standing on the shoulders of our ancestors in a number of different ways. So, and we in here, this was the purpose of this exhibit, stories of underground legends. We standing on the shoulders of ancestors, or, recognizing, people that's living. So I want to get into your grandmother, but who are some of your living people that you want to give flowers to?
Right now, I can start with, my grandmother on my father's side. She stays in Greensboro, and when I tell you, I look at her and I see why, a big part of why I am the way I am. That woman lives with. She had 8 kids by the time she was 28. And my grandfather, he was in the war, and when he came back, they wasn't giving any kind of real help to black veterans. So he, succumbed to a tougher situation out there in New York. But my grandmother having 8 kids, being predominantly single for most of her life, but still raising. You should hear the way she talks about her process of motherhood. You never hear her complain. She's always so happy and so loving. To this day, people just pull up, bro. Like people, like all my aunties that live out here, all just pull up, sit with her, play cards, talk with her. And it's not like she's hobbling. Nah, she's very much energetic. And she's like 80, 86, 87. And it's like, I really do believe it's her love and her sense of the beauty in her spirit that's allowed her to stay so youthful and so sharp and so just beautiful all these years, man. Of course, my mother, man, her being the person that I can just to credit my mother and my father just being people who legitimately raised me to not be an angry child. I didn't have a mean bone in my body, so I had to learn how to accept my aggression and my anger throughout, the later years of my life. But I'm just glad that I have this almost like fail-safe way of, positivity or the ability to cope and keep going by having a mother and a father who instilled within me a foundation that always made me feel like I could do something. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I have my limitations, but my mother and father never made me feel like I was incapable of doing anything. And I think that that's half of a parent's responsibility, is to help their child know that they can do anything. So much appreciation to them. But I'll reach out and just shout out just some people who influenced me at the university, which is Dr. Lewis. She's the head of the psych department. A professor who took it upon herself to be somewhat of a spiritual guide for me. She told me a while ago that she, as a result of me being in her class, that she saw something in me that was very representative of a person who wants to heal and a person who wants to help. And she chose to be what in African terms called a jegna, which is like a mentor, just a more spiritual version of it. We sat down and had plenty of conversations that's helped me continue to pour my gifts into this, my walk. And Dr. Jack Manil, he's criminology and sociology professor at Winston-Salem State as well, part of my fraternity as well. And he was the guy, he was the screaming representation of what a lot of young guys, for me, I know, going to school wanted to kind of be. He came from the PJs in Bed-Stuy, bumped his head, spent time behind bars, you know, got out and made a choice that, you know, I'm not gonna be a statistic. And I love his representation of manhood and the ability to, you know, walk in this light of education and of consciousness, and to, you know, just be a man that's dedicated to, you know, the community and dedicated to his family. You know what I'm saying? That's, you know, that's all you can ask a man to do. The rest is what he wants to do.
Right.
So, you know, him being that example for me, I feel like is, you know, a staple. It's a staple as well. So those are some people I'll give, you know, their flowers while they're alive. You know?
I see you had a phenomenal, you know, relationship, you know, with your grandmother that transition. And I like to say transition instead of died, passed away. You know what I mean? Because I feel like it was just a transference of energy into another realm where they still surrounded, you know, versus when people discuss dead, it's just gone.
Right.
You know, and this energy forever remains, you know. So, and I think that's beautiful. Like I have 3 out of my 4, you know, grandparents, you know, still living, you know, have great relationships with them, and it's always beautiful to be able to, you know, politic with them, build with them, you know, listen to their stories. Like I was telling you, my grandmother has a podcast telling the stories, and it's really dope, you know what I mean, too. For one, she's a storyteller, you know what I mean, so that's something that I get to see. I mean, I come from a family of storytellers, so like just having conversations with those, you know, that have lived, you know, with all this other wisdom, you know, and with all these other experiences, they bring so much different, you know, light to us. You know, what are some of the, what was you and your grandmother's like? What made y'all, you know, mesh like that?
Man, well, I tell you this, I feel very, very blessed to, you know, have the parents that I had, and my relationship with my grandma was very, very, it was, you know, in my mind, what a grandchild and grandmother relationship should be, because she gave me all her love, bro. Like, anytime I walked in that house, she was trying to feed me. She was asking, what do you need? She used to always make me, and that's part of the reason why I probably fell in love with sweets, bro, because she would make me this strawberry, I call it strawberry stuff, but apparently it's like strawberries mixed with sugar and carnation milk, and it's like a mixture, and it just tastes really good when you cut up strawberries and whatnot. But you know, just besides the childish things of eating Klondike bars and watching The Mask and The Simpsons at her house, growing up and just always hearing, you know, always hearing that she's praying for me, always hearing that she's proud of me, and that, you know, I feel like she was a part of the forces that carried me when I didn't know that I needed to be carried. And what I can say was, like, I started to, and as a result, me growing into my consciousness helped me appreciate my grandma so much more. I did take time to ask her just intricate questions that only she could tell me. I asked her what she used to do for fun. You know, she explained to me, you know, just how Jacksonville didn't have so many buildings. It was more so trees. And I was like, what do you do for fun? She was like, Little Mike, I prayed. That's what I did. Like, I prayed for fun. She was like, you know, I was helping with the chickens and helping with, you know, like really a life living off of land, like legitimate land. And, you know, she became a very, very iconic figure for me, in a sense where, you know, she went to the schools when they were segregated. She went to the stores when people were looking at her like she was crazy for going to a Piggly Wiggly or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, stuff that, you know, we still deal with, but it's a whole lot less socially acceptable, but still a reality nonetheless.
Right.
She dealt with a particular brand of it, and like I said, through it all, didn't let it sour her to the point where she couldn't love on her grandchildren and the babies in the family. So, you know, it was really cool, man. Like, I don't know, it was always somber and peaceful when I talked to her. Never once do I ever remember talking to her and feeling disgruntled or upset, her giving me any energy in which she was trying to you know, be anything else but a light in my life. So, yeah, man, it was really dope. Our connection was really dope, man, and it's still dope to this day. So definitely the book is, you know, dedicated to her, dedicated to my dad, and it's, you know, a fresh dedication to my newborn, you know, son that's on the way. So
You got a son on the way, Mansa.
young Mansa, yeah.
You know, like what was so you're about to become a father. You're a creative. You know, so there's, you know, a lot of energy. You know, you have to put in a lot of different spaces. You know, relationship, your career,
Right.
You know, things of that nature. How you balance it all?
Well, right now, I'm balancing it by continuing to be present in the moment, and making sure that right now during this time that I'm checking off the necessities of the foundation that I know I need to lay every day. So, you know, I gotta take care of myself physically. I need to create. So it's, you know, helping me be more consistent in some of my other works. And, you know, it's putting me in a space where it's helping me to gravitate and emphasize what really matters. You know, every little bit of time I used to have a, you know, throughout the time I'd be building a book and even rebuilding my body, I had this slogan I used to always post on Instagram: slow progress, better than no progress. But now I'm in a space where I'm so dedicated to that point of view. Now I've changed it to MEC, make everything count. Make everything count. So I'm getting up, I'm conscious, I'm thankful, I know I'm putting deposits into the accounts that need that income. You know what I'm saying? In the sense where it's like, at this point, I can say that never before have I gotten up, read so consistently, made sure I, you know, tried to, you know, meditate and be in my creative spaces, even to the simple fact where even the creation of things outside of whether it's my book, this clothing, you know what I'm saying? Like, Black men breaking chains, that's what that stands for. And in that way, I think I'm just happy sometimes just to realize that I've already eliminated so many things that would have, you know, put my son behind the 8 ball mentally, you know what I'm saying, metaphorically so speaking. And, you know, the importance of having my perception toward this process of fatherhood be like I said, even the way with my lady in the midst of her getting ready for childbirth, she takes her hypnobirth and then she's gonna be allowing herself to conceptualize and perceive the contractions and the things that people might perceive as pain as beauty. So in that same way, the way that I'm finding myself dedicating and being more involved with how I hold myself accountable and how I move and react every day, things that would have seemed tedious or painful seem more beautiful now. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, one day, you know, I know my son's gonna be in a space where he's gonna be trying to do something. He's gonna be trying to accomplish something. And he's gonna have to go through the normal paces of frustrations. He's gonna have to go through failing. He's gonna have to go through, you know, falling short and realizing his own limitations. But then he's gonna find himself. He's gonna find it. And just to know that I can have the ability and the opportunity, just by the way I'm living life, to be that constant example for him, makes it all beautiful, bro. Like, it makes it like, yo, this is what it's for, bro. It ties me tighter to my purpose. Helps me play it closer to the chest.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
For sure. That's love. Well, I definitely appreciate you, you know, taking the time to chop it up with me.
I appreciate you, man.
We definitely, you know, need to know where to find your clothing. And when the book comes out, we definitely gonna do another one of these sit downs. You know, I'm gonna read the book. We gonna dive into it.
Right.
And you know, get some Q&A from the people. You know, as well. You know, but I appreciate you taking out the time. You know, to chop it up. Man. You know, and you know, get real. You know what I mean? Even as artists, you know, sometimes people only look at our art. You know, and I want, you know, as I interview artists, I want people to know who the person is, you know, behind the art as well. You know what I mean? And then maybe you can get even a greater understanding of what it is that is creating, you know what I mean, these extensions of us.
Facts,
so
facts.
much love, bro.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it, man. Glad to be here. So of course, the clothing line is, I'm going to release and get pre-orders ready. I want to say maybe a couple months after the book, because I'll have it, I'll be wearing it wherever I tour it, but you know, I'm trying to build a sense of connection so I can reinvest in the clothing line and have things ready and, you know, open up my base of product for people to choose from. But I'm gonna publish through Mascot, you know what I'm saying? So it's gonna be self-published, but it's just gonna go through Mascot.
Right.
And I'm gonna do an audio version too, with a nice little soundtrack behind it to kind of capture the vibe of what it is I'm saying. Like I can't wait to, man, I'm super excited. I can't wait to just have that, bring people into that world, bring people into that world of figuring it out, and to get us to a place where we can stop being so competitive with each other and start being more compatible. You know what I'm saying? So I'm excited, bro. Excited.
No doubt. Much love, bro.
Appreciate you, man.
Already.
Peace.